I'm going to break this down into an action plan so that you can launch your very first Amazon product in the next 90 days. Signing up for your Amazon seller account is a great start because it'll make you feel like you are getting something done. And from there, you're going to start looking for products. What I always recommend is that you at minimum have 5 hours a week to dedicate to your Amazon business. And just as a quick pro tip, you can have your shipping done by your supplier themselves. And there we have it. We're up to our 90-day mark. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to give you a timeline of selling on Amazon with FBA and what you can expect as far as different steps in the process and how long each of those steps might take. I'm going to break this down into an action plan so that you can launch your very first Amazon product in the next 90 days. In my step-by-step Amazon program, I provide a written timeline and it's made in the form of a spreadsheet to my students so they can follow each individual step in order to launch their product. But in this video, I will give you kind of a higher level overview so that you'll know the main points to hit so that you don't miss anything super important when you're going to launch that first product. And if you'd like for me to teach you how to sell on Amazon through my step-by-step mentorship program, I'll go ahead and leave the details for that in the description box below. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Don't forget to go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you haven't already for more Amazon and e-commerce related videos. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, the way that I'm going to frame this video is through the lens of you following some type of a blueprint or some type of a program. Of course, I have a program that I offer, but if that is not what you're following, I have to assume that you have some sort of baseline knowledge of selling on Amazon, even if it's just here through my YouTube videos or anyone else's content. And the reason that I have to add that is because if you don't know anything about selling on Amazon, then of course you're going to have to allocate time for that learning curve versus just following the steps that someone else has laid out for you. Okay, so now that I've prefaced that, we can move on to day one. So if you are part of my program, you would join our private Facebook group and you would introduce yourself. I think this is very important so that you can hold yourself accountable and feel like you're engaged in the process of learning as you are figuring out how to look for products to sell. There are multiple things you can do on that very first day. Signing up for your Amazon seller account is a great start because it'll make you feel like you are getting something done. And from there, you're going to start looking for products. So the process of product research can take anywhere from 1 day all the way up to a month or more, really depending on how much time you dedicate to it and how much you practice. I have some students in my program who were able to find their winning product on day one of product research, which is not unheard of, but at the same time, there are people who sometimes take longer to narrow down that product. I don't want you to be too hard on yourself during the process of product research because every person is different, and for some people it comes more easily, and for other people it just takes a little bit more practice. What you're going to want to do is sign up for Helium 10, which is a product research software. I'll go ahead and put it right up here and also in the description box so that you guys can try it out. But Helium 10 is really going to put you in a great position to start looking at data points and looking at different products and being able to analyze them so that you can narrow it down and pick a product that's really going to make you good money on Amazon. What I always recommend is that you at minimum have 5 hours a week to dedicate to your Amazon business. So this can look like 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. Maybe you just take the weekends off completely, or maybe you're busier during the week and the weekends make more sense. So you do 2.5 hours on Saturday, 2.5 hours on Sunday, depending on what works for you. But either way, you want to make sure that you are consistently putting in those hours so that you're able to narrow down your product and you can continue on with the rest of the process. I will say that a lot of people reach out to me in regards to product research, and my students are by far able to find products much more quickly than people who are just trying to figure it out by watching YouTube videos or reading articles online. So there definitely is a benefit to having a criteria of what you should be looking for in those products. That way it's easier to narrow things down as you're looking at Helium 10 and looking at the graphs and looking at the numbers. You'll be able to know what makes a good product versus what doesn't. And I do touch on that in multiple videos here on my YouTube channel. So feel free to check out the product research playlist on my page. So with that being said, and for the purposes of demonstration, so that I can give you guys an actual timeline, let's say that it takes you 2 weeks to actually figure out what product you want to sell on Amazon. So let's move on to the next step in the timeline, which will be manufacturing. So once you have picked the product, it's time to find someone who can actually create the product and put your logo on it. This process, again, will vary depending on how often you are actually reaching out to suppliers and having those conversations on a consistent basis. And what I will say is that there is a time difference between the US, for example, and China. I'm just using the US as an example because I live here, but wherever you live in the world, there most likely is a time difference unless you're in China or in that time zone. So with that being said, if you are sleeping at the time that your supplier is awake and alert and able to message you back, it's going to drag out that communication process longer. So for example, if you live on the East Coast, the time difference between there and these suppliers is going to be 12 hours. So for 8 a.m. for them, it's going to be 12 p.m. for you at night. And so you're going to have a much easier and a much more efficient communication flow with these suppliers if you're able to stay up at night and talk to them. That way they will get back to you quickly with their responses because it's their work day, and you'll be able to get a lot more done more quickly. So again, this is going off of the assumption that you're following my advice. So if you are, then you should be able to connect with some suppliers on Alibaba.com, and you should be able to form kind of a short list of maybe 2 to 3 of your top options based off of their communication style, based off of the price that they're offering, based off of how long it's going to take them, which should be 30 days or less. There are multiple criteria that will make a good supplier versus a bad supplier, and I do have a video on this on my channel as well. And once you narrow things down, you're going to want to then get a sample of that product from that supplier. And getting the sample essentially just assures you that you are going to have a great quality product at the end of the day. Not getting a sample is a very easy rookie mistake to make, and trust me, it is never worth it to forego the inspection or to get a sample. The inspection I'll talk about in a minute, but getting that sample is also part of that quality control process. So if you follow those guidelines, it should take you no more than a week to figure out your suppliers, and then from there, you should be able to get your sample in another week. So to recap, we are about a month in the process now. You have joined a program, you know what to expect, you've introduced yourself in the Facebook group, you downloaded Helium 10, you did your product research and found that product within 2 weeks, and then you spoke with suppliers, narrowed it down to 2 or 3 in 1 week, and then you went ahead with getting those samples in another week. So now we are 1 month and 30 days, and then we move on to the next step. So remember how I just said that you want the manufacturing or lead time to be 30 days or less? Well, the reason I said that is because you want to have a predictable time frame in which you're going to be able to get new inventory to Amazon. And for some suppliers who have a longer lead time, let's call it 45 days or even 60 days, that's going to be very difficult for you to plan for when you need to reorder inventory. That means that you're going to need to plan very far ahead and know when your products are going to run out of stock, because it's going to take them a very long time to remake the product. Versus going with a supplier who has 30 days as their lead time, it just minimizes the amount of time you have to plan ahead to reorder your inventory. So I highly recommend that. That's what I teach in my program as well. So during these 30 days, while your supplier is creating your products, you're going to be working on your product photography. You're going to be working on your listing on the back end while they do what they need to do on their end. Also within these 30 days, you want to ensure that you have a product inspection done as well. I mentioned that before. The purpose of the product inspection is to make sure that your supplier did not skimp on the quality once they mass produced your product. And when I say mass produced, I mean 500 units roundabout. And you want to make sure that you are hiring a reputable inspection company to go and check out your products in China where they're being made, or if they're being made elsewhere. It doesn't matter, but you never want to skip that step of having the inspection done. I actually have a story time video here on my channel where I talk about my experience not getting an inspection and the way it costs me a lot of money to correct that mistake when I could have just gotten that inspection done in the first place, and I never would have had to go through that. So that is my cautionary tale to you guys. Make sure that you always get that inspection done, and that will happen within that 30-day lead time. So now that the products have been made, it has been about 2 months or 60 days, and you are on to the very last step. Now, this last step is going to be the easiest because there's just not a lot that you have to do outside of creating your shipment plan. A shipment plan is basically a form that you fill out with Amazon to let them know how many products you're sending in, how big they are, how much they weigh, how many boxes are coming, and other details, so that Amazon knows when to expect them and so that they can receive the products correctly and without any issues popping up. Once those products are on the way, you might find yourself feeling a bit anxious and just kind of ready for the products to be there, because at that point you would have put in a lot of time, a lot of energy, and you probably feel some type of a connection to the product that you're selling. You'll be eager because you want to make money. So it is exciting, and it is going to feel like it's probably taking forever, but in reality, sea shipping from China to the US should not take more than 30 days. And in a lot of instances, you might even be able to get express C shipping, where your products could get to the Amazon fulfillment center in as little as like 14 days, depending on who is doing the shipping. And just as a quick pro tip, you can have your shipping done by your supplier themselves. And when your supplier does your shipping, essentially what they're doing is coordinating the shipment with a shipping company called a freight forwarder. So you can either have your supplier essentially be the middleman and do all of the coordination of it for you, or you can go directly to the freight forwarder and the freight forwarder will be able to coordinate the pickup and they can take care of the entire shipment from, you know, the supplier's factory all the way to the Amazon fulfillment center. And normally it is a bit cheaper to go straight to the shipping company than to utilize your supplier as the middleman, but it is easier to use the supplier. So it depends on what your preference is, but for beginners, I just say have the supplier do it because it is going to be the least amount of work for you. And that's, you know, kind of a place that you can make the process more simple on yourself. So then the products are going to go ahead and get shipped to the Amazon fulfillment center, and they should be received within the month. And there we have it. We're up to our 90-day mark, and you can have your product up and running. At the time that I am posting this video, it is February 2025. You can have that product up by June. By the summertime, you can have a product selling passively on Amazon and making you money while you're on the beach or spending time with your family. So hopefully you take this timeline and utilize it in order to give yourself some benchmarks of what you should be expecting when you are launching a product on Amazon. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and I'm looking forward to many of you launching your Amazon products in the near future. And even if you are watching this at a later time, you can still utilize that 90-day marker. So whatever day it is today, you can kind of use that as a way to plan for when you're going to try to hit these different steps. And remember that things happen. So if you take a little bit longer to find your winning product, don't freak out and don't panic. It's different once again for everyone. And this is just to give you something to work around and sort of an expectation that you can go off of, but don't, you know, be too hard on yourself if you go outside of this time frame. This is kind of an ideal timeline for launching. It's not going to be a one size fits all. All right, guys, go out there and start looking for those products. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.